Part 53. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 525. The peerless formation set up by thousands of gods, after bearing the palm of Chen Ronghuo's power of the Lord of Black Demon, actually cracked with a lot of cracks. This formation is a formation that the gods use the origin of the Black Demon star as the source of power to change the laws of the world of gods. The cracks in the formation at this time mean that there are loopholes in the rules of the world of gods. Boom boom boom. Amazing momentum is released from the Black Demon star. Thousands of gods, led by the Lord of Light, the Lord of Thunder, the Lord of Ancient Nether, and the Lord of Gold, all cast their eyes on Chen Ronghuo. The Lord of Black Demon is dead. None of them thought that Chen Ronghuo, who had been in a stalemate with the Lord of Black Demon for such a long time before, actually killed the Lord of Black Demon in an instant after using his killer move. Especially the four pillar gods led by the Lord of Light, were shocked beyond words. They were no match for the Lord of Black Demon if they were alone. Now Chen Ronghuo killed the Lord of Black Demon. What does this mean? Does it mean that if they were to fight Chen Ronghuo alone, they would probably end up like the Lord of Black Demon? Buzz buzz buzz. The great array set up by the gods shook continuously, and some cracks began to repair quickly, but even after the repair, there was still a tiny black spot on it. This black spot is a loophole that is difficult to repair. At the same time, this black spot was deliberately left by Chen Ronghuo's claw just now. After his cultivation reached the 14th level, his control over the ancient book had almost reached its limit, and at the same time, his deduction ability through the ancient book had also reached its limit. He had been calculating since the beginning of the battle with the Lord of Black Demon. Until the end, he finally used the power of the Lord of Black Demon to leave his own mark on this array set up by the gods. Buzz. At this moment, Chen Ronghuo's body shook, and the influx of a large amount of light from the gods finally transformed his body into an NPC. Chen Ronghuo frowned, put his left hand on himself, and began to try to find the NPC attributes in his body. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. NPC attribute add 1. It took Chen Ronghuo 3 seconds to find an NPC attribute from his body. At this time, the NPC attributes on his body were simply immeasurable. Buzz. At the same time, as one NPC attribute was lost in his body, the light of the gods immediately surged out of the black magic stargate above his head, which was not closed, and rushed into his body, and quickly transformed into NPC attributes. Sure enough, it seems that we can only follow the previous plan. Chen Ronghuo exhaled a breath of turbid air. He had already calculated the situation through ancient books. At this time, he actually had at least 2 ways to expel the NPC attributes in his body. One is to use the power of the ancient book to directly seal the NPC attributes in his body. The other is to transfer all his strength back to the body and leave all the NPC attributes in the body in the substitute stone fetus. Chen Ronghuo raised his head and looked into the depths of the void. I'm afraid no one would have thought that the body he fought with the Lord of the Dark Devil was not his real body, but his substitute stone embryo. But Chen Ronghuo didn't want to do that. Because once he did that, when the rules of this world were completely changed, he would become an alien and be expelled from this world. In this way, although he still has strong strength, it will be difficult for him to protect his family in the future game. What should I do? This person is too strong. Although we have transformed him into an NPC, he broke the rules and formations, making it impossible for us to repair them. I'm afraid there will be big troubles in the future. Especially since we didn't know about his existence in advance, we didn't set too many restrictions on him when we made the rules. Now it's too late to set appropriate rules for him. The eyes of the gods looked at Chen Ronghuo through the formation, and their faces were all very ugly. They made a complete plan for themselves, but they didn't expect that in the end, there would be such a big omission. I have a way. Suddenly, the Lord of the ancient underworld flashed. What method? We can transfer the rules set for the Lord of Darkness to this person, and let him replace the Lord of Darkness and become the final boss of the game. This is a method, but in this case, I don't know if the Lord of Darkness. The Lord of Ancient Darkness said in a deep voice, we can activate the rules formation to revive those who have been transformed into NPCs. But I think that if this person is set as the final boss, the Lord of Darkness will not need to be resurrected. Next, we just need to set a place for the inheritance of the Lord of Darkness. The Lord of Darkness is dead, so it is much easier to do this kind of setting. Set a place for the inheritance of the Lord of Darkness. When the gods heard this, especially those of low-level gods, their eyes flashed, and eagerness flashed in their eyes. In that case, let's start the action immediately, we don't have much time. In the dark, the gods quickly communicated. As they communicated, the eyes of many gods began to flash when they looked at Chen Ronghuo. After Chen Ronghuo left his mark on the formation set up by the gods with one claw, he did not continue. At this time, the power of the Dark Lord that he had just sealed had been exhausted. Even if he tried again, it would be difficult to break through this formation. He has long been aware of this. Buzz. At this time, in front of Chen Ronghuo, the dead body of the Lord of Darkness suddenly trembled and turned into a black light, disappearing from the shadow. Chen Ronghuo raised his brows, pretending to look solemn, and after checking carefully, he left the chaotic space in a flash and returned to the world of gods. There are countless spatial turbulences in the chaotic space, which are extremely dangerous. Although he can stay there for a long time, if he is unlucky, even he may be in danger. Time is running out. Chen Ronghuo returned from outside the world. While quickly refining the terrifying breath of the law of tribulation that he had just killed the Lord of Black Demons, he set his sights on Jiatuo Snake Mother and others who were fighting fiercely with Zhenkinzan and others. On people. But compared with the majestic momentum before, at this time, Jiatuo Snake Mother and others all looked extremely weak. As for Zhenqiansan and others, their aura was as strong as a rainbow. Chen Ronghuo was not surprised by this. Deep in the souls of Jiatuo Snake Mother and others, there are contract marks left by the Lord of Darkness. Although this contract mark is not a natal contract mark, with the death of the Lord of Darkness, Jiatuo Snake Mother and others were still implicated and suffered heavy losses. Chen Ronghuo. Seeing Chen Ronghuo returning from outside the world, the expressions of Jiatuo Snake Mother and others suddenly froze. And the depths of their pupils were even more filled with incredulity when they reflected Chen Ronghuo's figure. The Lord of Darkness, who was almost invincible in their eyes, actually died in the hands of Chen Ronghuo one-on-one. They could hardly believe their eyes. Even if this matter has already happened. Whoosh! Just when Jiatuo Snake Mother glanced at Chen Ronghuo from the corner of her eye, a dagger with a cold light suddenly appeared in the void behind her and stabbed straight at her. This dagger is extremely powerful, and the timing of the assassination is also extremely clever. If it were any other time, Jiatuo Snake Mother could still resist it, but because she was implicated in the death of the Lord of Darkness, she was seriously injured. When she sensed the appearance of the dagger, his pupils suddenly shrank, but there was nothing he could do to save himself. Puff! The dagger pierced the back of the Jiatuo Snake Mother, twisting into her heart, and along with her severely injured soul, was also twisted into pieces. A half-step pillar god died on the spot. As soon as Jiatuo Snake Mother died, Huanglin's figure disappeared from the void again and became hidden. Boom boom boom. At the same time, the others under Chen Ronghuo also went all out to kill all the Dark Lord's men as soon as possible. The eldest grandson refreshes his broom and sweeps across it, Zhenqiansan activates the formation, and the dynasty bends its bow and arrows. Within a moment, the master of the Killing Temple, who had fought against Chen Ronghuo, also died on the scene after Jiatuo Snake Mother. Then the Lord of the Trap Temple, the Lord of the Killing Temple, the Lord of the Absolute Temple, the heavenly bone divine general. All the powerful men under the Lord of Darkness died one after another under the attack of Chen Ronghuo and his men. And with the death of 10 half-step pillar god-level experts, the breath of the law of tribulation that Chen Ronghuo obtained was already terrifying. The realm of eternity. However, through deduction, Chen Ronghuo knew that even if he added the breath of the law of tribulation obtained by killing the Lord of Darkness, it would be difficult for him to break through to the 15th level this time. However, although he cannot advance to the 15th level in one fell swoop, after he refines all the breaths of the laws of tribulation, it is possible to reach the 15th level in half a step that has never been achieved by anyone. Lord. After Jado Snake Mother and others died, Zhenkinzan and others surrounded them. Chen Ronghuo raised his head and glanced at everyone, with a heavy look on his face. Accompany me all the way to today. This battle is over, and if I could, I really hope I never have to fight again. It's just a pity. Chen Ronghuo looked into the depths of the void. This battle is not over, but has just begun. Hearing Chen Ronghuo's words, Zhu Daipen immediately drank out, Lord, don't worry, we are all ready. The others also nodded. Before this battle, Chen Ronghuo told them what they might encounter in the future. So they all knew what Chen Ronghuo meant. Chen Ronghuo nodded slightly, and when he glanced at everyone, he remembered the figures of all his subordinates. Meow. The fat cat's figure flashed and fell into Chen Ronghuo's arms. Chen Ronghuo rubbed both sides of Shamao's body. While sighing, he thought about it and started to activate the ancient book. With a buzz, with Shamao's cooperation, he was sealed into a sealed page of the ancient book. Buzz buzz. Then Chen Ronghuo kept moving and sealed the big river crab, 2C and sky divine birds, the little white dragon, the black tiger of doom, the devil mermaid, the colorful butterfly, and the colorful sacred tree into the seal pages of the ancient book. With the strength of Shamao and Dehi crab, if they resist, Chen Ronghuo will naturally not be able to use the ancient book to seal them. But with their cooperation, it was easy for him to seal them. What is this person going to do? Deep in the Black Demon Star, a group of gods are always paying attention to Chen Ronghuo's movements to prevent him from causing any trouble again. When they saw that all their spiritual pets had been put away by some unknown means, and even they couldn't sense it, they all frowned slightly, not knowing what Chen Ronghuo was going to do. We can't wait any longer. We only have a few details left to perfect, but that's nothing. But once this person does something else, it may have a huge impact on us. A god spoke. That's right, let's do it now. Other gods also spoke one after another. Ever since Chen Ronghuo's claw broke through the formation they jointly set up and left a mark on it that was difficult to recover, the gods began to be very afraid of Chen Ronghuo. Even when Chen Ronghuo made some actions that they couldn't understand, some gods became nervous. It's better to do it now. The god of light pillar spoke softly. Rumble. Just when Chen Ronghuo had sealed all his spiritual pets into ancient books, a huge black hole suddenly opened above his head, and endless purple emerged from the black hole. These purples gathered together and formed a huge formation, suppressing him. Chen Ronghuo felt something strange, raised his head, his eyes were like lightning, and from the depths of the purple formation, he could faintly see the shadows of the gods. Since you want to play a game, then I will play a game with you. He sneered in his heart, knowing that these gods couldn't hold back and were fooled by him. Boom. Suddenly, when Chen Ronghuo was staring at the purple formation above, his heart moved, and he suddenly looked through the formation and landed on a god. When his eyes fell on the god, the body of the god had exploded with a bang. After his body exploded, a large amount of divine power and divine blood immediately poured into the purple formation, beginning to strengthen the power of the formation. But after the god's body exploded, a ray of true spirit flew out of it, and with a flash, it flew into a black vortex deep in the Black Demon Star, and disappeared. Boom 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 boom. Then, following that god, other gods also began to explode their bodies, using their own divine blood and divine power to continuously increase the power of the purple formation. At the same time, their true spirits all flew into the black vortex deep in the black demon star and disappeared like the god at the beginning. Until the end, even the four-pillar gods headed by the light pillar god looked deeply at his light across the formation, exploded their divine bodies, and also threw their true souls into the black vortex. Buzz buzz. And these, the purple formation that suppressed Chen Ronghuo from above, and after being blessed by countless divine blood and divine power, its power has reached its limit, and it rushes in quickly. He. But after seeing all the gods leaving, Chen Ronghuo suddenly smiled, stretched out his hand, and summoned his own body in front of him. At this time, Chen Ronghuo's body was also filled with a large number of NPC attributes, but compared with the NPC attributes in his stand-in stone body, it was much less. Chen Ronghuo placed his left hand on his own body, and in just a moment, he took out all the NPC attributes in his body. After he took out all the NPC attributes in the original body, with a thought, he transferred the ancient book in the stone body of the substitute and the attribute abilities of his left hand back to the original body. However, he did not transfer any of the powerful power in his stone body to his true body. Roar. At this time, Chen Ronghuo saw the huge purple magic circle getting closer and closer to him, and suddenly let out a roar. Under his roar, the formations blessed by the gods with life actually showed ripples. And just when the ripples appeared, he suddenly thrust out his big hand, and with a bang, a hole was opened in the purple magic circle. And sent his own body out of that opening. Then he sent his body into the black demon star through the loopholes he had left in the regular array that the gods had jointly laid out. I'm finally going back. After Chen Ronghuo's body arrived on the black demon star, he looked at the dark whirlpool deep in the black demon star and sighed. Then his body was uncontrollable, and like the true spirits of the gods before, he also rushed into the dark vortex. Only mortal bodies, low-level souls, or true spirits without any power can pass through this vortex. Buzz. Just when Chen Ronghuo sent his own body into the dark whirlpool where the true spirits of the gods rushed in, the purple formation rushing towards his substitute stone body was rapidly healing and wrapped around him. Chen Ronghuo did not resist. But before the formation wrapped him up, he chuckled, and suddenly cut off a small part of his huge soul power. With a hiss, he flew out from a crack in the purple formation that had not yet healed, and landed. He found a loophole in the rules formation laid out by the gods before. The game hasn't been set up yet, how can it start now? Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 526. As soon as Chen Ronghuo's body plunged into the dark vortex, he felt his consciousness slow down and could only watch his body fly to the end of this space-time tunnel. After reaching the 14th level, Chen Ronghuo had completely understood the gods' plan. He knew that their goal was to merge the world of gods, the black demon star, and the universe where the Earth star was located into one, so as to completely solve the problem of the gradual aging of the world of gods. In addition to the lesson learned this time, all the gods decided to give up the gods and start practicing again. Of course, because the world of gods was getting older and older, if they didn't do this, they would have no way out. The birth of a new world has endless opportunities. In addition to the many back ups they left for themselves, it is not impossible for them to return to the peak in the new world, or even take a step closer. Chen Ronghuo quietly shuttled through the space-time tunnel. Although his original body had no strength at this time, his knowledge still existed. In addition, the ancient book had been transferred back to his body. He could clearly see that this space-time tunnel was constructed by the rules of the world of gods, the black magic star, and the universe where the Earth star was located. And as time passed, the power of the laws belonging to the Earth star in the space-time tunnel became more and more prominent. Chen Ronghuo knew that this space-time tunnel was the core of the fusion of the three worlds and had many secrets. During the flight, he moved his mind, and a little light flew out of his body and merged into this space-time tunnel silently without anyone noticing. 1 year, 2 years. Time passed quickly, and Chen Ronghuo did not feel bored. He just quietly traveled through the space-time tunnel, waiting for the moment of return. Although his original body is now a mortal body, because of the special connection with the substitute stone embryo, his lifespan is actually almost infinite. At the same time, in the world of gods, Chen Ronghuo's substitute stone embryo and his subordinates were all suppressed by the purple formation that the gods used their lives to drive. This formation has infinite power, and it actually broke through the space and suppressed all of them into the demon world. After arriving in the demon world, the formation suddenly split apart, suppressing Chen Ronghuo's subordinates in different places. Among them, Chen Ronghuo's substitute stone embryo was suppressed in the depths of the demon suppression abyss. However, Chen Ronghuo was not anxious about this. After being suppressed, he began to concentrate on refining the large amount of breadth of the law of calamity that he had obtained before. Only occasionally, he would raise his head and look into the depths of the void. The place he looked at was exactly the place where he left a loophole in the rule formation laid by the gods. At this time, the loophole had merged with a strand of soul that he had separated. And the purpose of his splitting this strand of soul was to help the gods and perfect the game according to his own wishes. Of course, because the time left for him was too short, what he could do was actually very limited. I have done what I should do. Next, let's see who will be better in the end. Chen Ronghuo muttered to himself, and no longer paid attention to the many changes in this world. He began to practice wholeheartedly, wanting to climb to the realm that no one had ever reached. Originally, his substitute stone fetus could not practice, but after reaching the 14th level, he wanted to use ancient books to deduce a way that would allow the substitute stone fetus to practice alone, and he could do it. Of course, because of the special physical problem of the substitute stone fetus, he would practice very slowly when using this substitute. However, being suppressed under the demon suppression abyss, he had nothing else to do, so slowness was not a problem for him. Diligence can make up for lack of talent. The space flashed, and a man in sportswear appeared on the top of Blackstone Mountain outside Ankan City. This man was Chen Ronghuo. The clothes he was wearing were exactly the ones he wore 300 years ago. With his ability, it was not difficult for him to preserve the clothes intact. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. As soon as Chen Ronghuo landed on the ground, he saw countless lights flying down between heaven and earth, like meteors. Chen Ronghuo stood still, and after a moment, he saw a stream of light falling in front of him. He stretched out his hand and grabbed it. This was a brand new login crystal. As the designer or perfecter of this big game, since he had the conditions, he naturally had to prepare a better login crystal for himself. In other words, this crystal was actually designed by him for himself. Using this crystal to log into the world of gods can get great benefits at the beginning. Chen Ronghuo's mind moved, and suddenly a drop of blood was forced out by it and merged into the login crystal. At this time, his body was indeed just a mortal body, but it was the top of the mortal body. He was only one step away from becoming a formal practitioner. And with his experience, it was really easy to force a drop of blood out of the pores. After melting the login crystal into his body, Chen Ronghuo squatted down again and picked up his mobile phone that had fallen on the ground. He pressed the power button, and the power on ringtone rang. After that, in a short time, a lot of messages and missed calls came in. Chen Ronghuo was excited and looked at them one by one. He saw that most of the messages were sent by his parents and sister. A complex look appeared on Chen Ronghuo's face. He had spent the promised 300 years in the world of gods for thousands of years because of his long-term cultivation under the acceleration of time. After finding the missed call, Chen Ronghuo couldn't wait to call back. Elder brother. A deeply remembered and familiar voice soon reached Chen Ronghuo's ears. Where are you? Stop joking and come back quickly. My sister Chen Xiao asked on the phone, with a faint cry. I'm in Ankan, don't worry, I'll be back soon. Are you telling the truth? Of course it's true, Chen Ronghuo replied affirmatively, comforting his sister. While talking, he walked down the mountain. He was very fast, and he could cover several meters in one step. Even while walking, he had been faintly absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, warming his spirit and tempering his body. This was a technique he deduced specifically for himself from ancient books and was used to practice at low levels. Whether walking, sitting, or lying down, he can operate this skill at all times. Originally, Earth Star's spiritual energy of heaven and earth was limited and was not suitable for cultivation. But because the three realms merged with each other, the spiritual energy of the Earth Star also burst out. Coupled with the spiritual energy seeping from the world of gods and the Black Demon Star, the spiritual energy on the Earth Star is already quite rich. Are you going to scare me to death? Is it so easy for me to drag you down? Chen Ronghuo comforted his sister, and the phone was snatched away by Chen's mother, who learned the news. Hearing the reprimand from Chen's mother, Chen Ronghuo smiled helplessly and could only promise repeatedly, Mom, don't worry, I will definitely not do it again in the future. After he killed the Lord of Darkness in the world of gods, he had become the strongest man in the world of gods. However, in the face of his mother's scolding, he could only listen like a child honestly. In the past, he sometimes felt impatient listening to Chen's mother nagging, but at this time, he was only filled with joy. Chen Ronghuo didn't hang up the phone until he came down from Black Rock Mountain. Because of the sudden changes in the world, one day passed and there was almost no car on the road. Chen Ronghuo was not in a hurry. Before he came back, he used ancient books to calculate some details. He stopped in the middle of the road. Half a minute later, a truck drove over from a distance. After seeing him, the driver rang the bell, but he ignored it completely. Suddenly the truck had to slow down. You are looking for death. The truck driver stuck his head out of the window and cursed. Only then did Chen Ronghuo step out of the way and let the truck pass. But as soon as the truck passed by him, his body suddenly moved, like a swift leopard, and followed the truck with a swish. He jumped up, flipped with one hand, touched the top of the rear compartment of the truck, and with force on his wrist, he reached the top of the truck silently. Ghost. The truck driver looked through the rearview mirror and saw Chen Ronghuo's body disappearing in a flash. His body trembled and his face suddenly turned pale. At this time, Chen Ronghuo was sitting in the back compartment of the truck, holding his mobile phone, looking through other messages in it, and replying to them one by one. There were his college classmates, his best friends since childhood, and some other people. After replying to most of the messages, he suddenly saw a strange avatar on QQ, beating up and down. This is a portrait of a woman standing on the grass with her arms open, embracing the blue sky. The woman in the picture is wearing a sky blue dress, only her back is exposed, but she still looks heart-stopping. Chen Ronghuo clicked on the profile picture and saw the message inside, which clearly read, "The world is ending. Are you interested in falling in love with me?" After seeing this message, Chen Ronghuo, who had lived for thousands of years, suddenly didn't know how to answer. Before coming back, he did a lot of deductions, but he didn't consider this issue at all. The relationship between heaven, earth, and human beings is a very big and important issue. Chen Ronghuo took a deep breath. Zheng Zheng replied to this person named I am not Qiwa on QQ, who are you? No one on the other side responded. Chen Ronghuo looked at the time when this message came and found that it had been more than 10 hours. He shook his head. Based on his memory, he clearly had never added this person before. She doesn't know how this person appeared on her friend list. But after thinking about it, he didn't delete it, he just regarded it as an adjustment in his life. Because of his good looks and height, as well as being good at studying and being a good person, some girls pursued him when he was in junior high school. In high school and college, this pursuit continued uninterrupted. It's just that Chen Ronghuo is very good in other aspects, but he is quite slow in this aspect. Among the girls who pursued him, there were many beautiful ones, but there were almost none that he found interesting. Chen Ronghuo's parents are very loving. Perhaps due to this influence, he is very restrained in himself. All he thinks about is that unless he doesn't fall in love, he will find someone to fall in love with for the rest of his life. Thinking this, Chen Ronghuo raised his head and glanced at the sky, only to see a vast continent hanging in the void. But at this time, Chen Ronghuo already knew that this continent was not actually the continent of the gods, but just a projection of it in this universe. While waiting, it didn't take long before the truck drove into Anken. Chen Ronghuo jumped out of the truck and walked on the somewhat chaotic streets, heading in one direction with a clear goal. Because of the sudden changes in the world, there are many people on the streets rushing home with various supplies. Of course, because a large number of registered crystals have just fallen from the sky, there are many people looking around to pick up this extraordinary thing at first sight. Chen Ronghuo ignored these. He was very fast and soon arrived in front of a small restaurant. There was a Mercedes-Benz parked in front of the restaurant. This car was the one he lost, but the license plate had been changed. As he walked towards his car, 3 men and 1 woman walked out of the restaurant. This group of people is exactly the group of car thieves. But speaking of it, Chen Ronghuo's car was stolen, which also had a lot to do with him. If he hadn't been in a hurry, didn't close the car door, and threw the keys in the car, plus the sudden change in the world, most of these people wouldn't have chosen to drive away his car. After all, in this era, fewer and fewer people are stealing cars. However, this group of people just changed the license plate and dared to park the car here in a big way. It must be said that they are very courageous. Before the 4 of them were about to get into the car, Chen Ronghuo stepped forward and blocked their way. "Brother, what's the matter?" A tall man headed by the 4 people was startled, then smiled at Chen Ronghuo and asked. Chen Ronghuo knocked on his car, "This is my car." Suddenly, the pupils of the 4 people headed by the tall man shrank. "You guys drive and take me to Sioux City. I'm in a good mood today and I won't kill you." Chen Huo spoke calmly. The 4 of them were startled and looked at Chen Ronghuo like a madman. "Opening your mouth means killing people. What is this but a lunatic?" The tall man glanced around and saw that no one was paying attention here. Then he took a deep look at Chen Ronghuo and said, "Okay, we will send you to Sioux City right now." Chen Ronghuo is in Anken, but his home is in Suzhou. 10 minutes later, outside Anken, a fast-moving Mercedes-Benz suddenly stopped. The car door opened and 4 men and 1 woman got out of the car. "Boy, you are so courageous." A man who was about 1.75 meters tall and somewhat thin, said with a sneer from Chen Ronghuo. He moved his wrist, and there was a snapping sound between the joints of his fingers. Chen Ronghuo took a few steps forward, and when he was more than 1 meter away from the man, he suddenly flew up and kicked the man in the stomach. With a bang, the thin man was kicked 5 or 6 meters away like a prawn with his body arched up. He fell to the ground, clutching his stomach and unable to get up. Suddenly, the faces of the 2 men and 1 woman beside Chen Ronghuo changed drastically. He kicked people several meters away and really frightened them all. The way they looked at Chen Ronghuo was like looking at an inhuman being. Ye Hong, Ye Zhou, Su Ming, Zhang Cheng and Chen Ronghuo glanced at the 4 people and actually called out their names. He grinned and said, "You are lucky if you bump into me. I will teach you in the future how can you be a good person." Then he set his eyes on Zhang Chenggan, who was kicked out by him, put him into the car and go to Sioux City. As he spoke, he turned around and returned to the passenger seat of the car. Behind him, the three people standing looked at each other. My thoughts are relatively smooth now, but I am in my hometown and my mobile phone is too slow to code, so I can only do this. I will try my best to add more updates when I go back the day after tomorrow. There is also a new chapter that follows the invincible plot flow. I will exercise my ability to construct plots. I hope to make progress. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 527. In a Mercedes-Benz driving towards the bookstore, Xuanhuan was sitting in the passenger seat, flipping through the information circulating on the internet with his mobile phone. The end of the world is coming, where should we go? City was shocked to see a six-clawed black wolf and was hit and killed by a truck on the spot. The login crystal fell from the sky, someone shed blood to identify the master, and the message was obtained. In 5 hours, the game of the gods is about to begin. The official announcement from the Red Country is that everyone should not easily identify the owner of the login crystal. After 5 hours, the official will test whether the message transmitted by the login crystal is true and verify whether it is safe. Xuanhuan flipped through the information on some web pages, and then found some forums. Purchase the login crystal at a high price, 10,000 yuan each. Incredible, I saw with my own eyes a 5-meter-tall black bear falling from the sky and died on the spot. After recognizing the owner and logging into the crystal, you will receive a message. 5 hours later, the game of gods will begin. Does anyone know what the game of gods is? I want to become an immortal, I want to become a god, I want to live forever. After browsing through the messages on the internet, Xuanhuan shook his head and put his phone away. Do you know the login crystal? Suddenly, Xuanhuan asked. Hearing Xuanhuan's question, the four people in the car suddenly felt tense. Xuanhuan spoke for the first time since he boarded the car for the second time. I know. Yehong, who was beside Xuanhuan, replied. A few of them were eating before, and the reason why they hurriedly came out of the restaurant was because they got information about the login crystal from the internet, and they wanted to come out to see if they could gain anything. After getting the answer he wanted, Xuanhuan moved his mind, connected with the login crystal in his body, and differentiated 4 identical rhombus crystals from it. He handed it to the 4 people and said, refine this with a drop of blood. This is one of the special abilities that Xuanhuan specially prepared for himself to log into the crystal. He has been a superior in the world of gods for thousands of years, so when he comes back, he will naturally not do everything himself. And the special ability of his login crystal was prepared for him to conquer his subordinates. Due to rule restrictions, he used his own login crystal and could differentiate up to 100 ordinary login crystals. But that was enough for him. As long as his subordinates recognize the owner of the login crystal he differentiated, they will be bound to him forever. Yehong and the others were suddenly at a loss. Now such a login crystal can be sold for 10,000 yuan or more. They never expected that Xuanhuan actually took out 4 of them and gave them to them. Seeing that the 4 people did not respond, Xuanhuan grabbed 4 login crystals and swung them in his hands. One of the 4 login crystals immediately flew towards Yehong beside him, and the other 3 flew towards Yezhou, Suming, and Zhang Qinggan behind him. Past. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. There was a sound of breaking through the air in the small space. In an instant, all 4 people flew towards the login crystal, and their bodies were scratched with sharp parts. Ah! The 4 of them screamed. Buzz. At this moment, after being stained with the blood of the 4 people, the 4 crystals buzzed, and after a burst of changes in reality, they merged into the bodies of the 4 people. The Mercedes-Benz was driving forward quickly. Xuanhuan sat calmly in the passenger seat, but Ye Hong and the other four looked at him like gods or demons. The method Chen Ronghuo showed just now is really frightening. Even Xiao Li Feideo's method of using hidden weapons should be nothing more than this, right? Please don't sleep in. At this time, a cell phone ringtone suddenly rang. Chen Ronghuo took out his cell phone and pressed the answer button. His sister's voice showed off, "Brother, you must not have imagined that 3 login crystals just landed at our door. How are you? Whether you want it or not, if you want it, I'll be generous and give you my share, and I'll find a way to buy one." Chen Ronghuo smiled happily, knowing that another arrangement he made was successful. The 3 login crystals that fell into his home were also specially designed by him. "No, I already have it," Chen Ronghuo said. Ankan and Su City are not far or close to each other. 2 hours later, the car drove into Su City and stopped in front of a villa community. The Chen family's main business is chain supermarkets. There are 2 large chain supermarkets in Suzhou City, and there are more chain supermarkets in various prefecture-level cities below Suzhou City. Even Chen Ronghuo, who doesn't pay much attention to this aspect, doesn't know how many there are specifically. Anyway, his family doesn't have much money, but they still have several hundred million. You drive and find a place to stay by yourself first. I will contact you later. Don't try to escape, otherwise you will definitely not want to bear the consequences. After getting out of the car, Chen Huakong waved to the 4 of them and walked into the villa community alone. He is not afraid of the 4 people escaping, because as long as he wants, the 4 people will be with him when they land in the world of gods. He even hoped that the 4 of them would be ignorant and escape against his orders, so that if he dealt with the 4 of them a few more times, they would know what they could and could not do. Seeing Chen Ronghuo's tall back gradually disappearing, the 4 people in the car leaned on their seats, feeling their bodies limp. Along the way, Chen Huo put too much pressure on them. "Brother Ye, what should we do?" Zhang Chengan, who had been kicked 5 or 6 meters away by Chen Ronghuo before, covered his stomach and said. Chen Huo's kick was really hard, with just the right amount of force. It didn't break his intestines, but the pain continued to this day. Also, could this person be a legendary martial arts master? It's really possible. Let's find a place to live in Su City first. Ye Hong pondered for a while and then said. But if he calls us in the future, do we really want to see him? Zhang Chengan was a little reluctant. At least, we need to know how he found us alone first. Ye Hong took a deep breath. In addition, the world is undergoing great changes now. If this person is really a legendary martial arts master, if we follow him, we may have some hope. There may be benefits. After speaking, Ye Hong took another look at the villa area in front of him. The people who could live here must be extraordinary even if they didn't have the unpredictable skills that they had shown before. Uncle Tang. Chen Ronghuo saw his father's driver and bodyguard Tang Chang'an in front of his home. Tang Chang'an was tall and straight, and looked powerful, but he didn't like to talk. He is 40 years old this year, and his wife and children also work in Chen's father's company. Ronghuo is back. Seeing Chen Ronghuo, Tang Chang'an grinned, "Come in quickly, your dad and the others are waiting for you." "Okay." Chen Ronghuo nodded and walked in quickly. "Brother, you are finally back." Chen Xiao, who saw Chen Ronghuo coming back through the fence of the villa, immediately ran out. She was wearing a white dress, with a smile on her face that was slightly baby fat. If you look closely, you can see that she looks a lot like Chen Ronghuo. The genes of the Chen family are very good. If Chen Ronghuo was also a woman, then Chen Xiao's appearance would be at least 89 times that of Chen Ronghuo. Of course, this is already very beautiful, standing in front of him, slim and graceful. If Mom scolds me later, don't forget to say a few nice words for me. Chen Ronghuo touched Chen Xiao's head. Chen Xiao is 16 years old and is still in high school. She has always been well behaved and cute. The relationship is very good. Chen Ronghuo felt excited when he saw Chen Xiao again after thousands of years. No problem, but you have to tell me first what's going on. Did you find a sister-in-law for me and want to elope with her? Chen Xiao tilted his head and asked Chen Ronghuo with sly eyes. Don't ask. If you ask, you don't know. When Chen Huo saw that Mother Chen had opened the door and walked out, he immediately left Chen Xiao and stepped forward to hold Mother Chen's hand. Chen's mother's name is Zhang Chunli. She is over 40 years old. She has many wrinkles on her face due to overwork in her early years. However, she is dressed in a fashionable style, with exquisite makeup and a good figure, but she has a very elegant temperament. Mom, I miss you. Seeing the wrinkles on Chen's mother's face, Chen Ronghuo couldn't help but speak. Thousands of years have not weakened his feelings. It was only his strong will that kept him from crying. When he left, he was worried that he would never come back. Fortunately, everything is changing for the better. What's going on? Seeing Chen Ronghuo's expression, Chen's mother immediately knew that something big must have happened during this day to make Chen Ronghuo say such words on the previous phone call, and turned off the phone for another day. If you have anything to say, come inside and say it. At this time Father Chen also walked out. Chen Fuming's name is Chen Yushang. With his square face, it can be seen that he must have been handsome when he was young. He is also in his 40s and has maintained a good figure. However, he had always loved Chen Ronghuo and Chen Xiao, and he never looked too majestic in front of them. Actually, the crystal I logged in yesterday fell. After I got it, I accidentally recognized its owner. The crystal is a bit special. I got some information in advance from it. At the dinner table, Chen Ronghuo told a small lie. Naturally, Chen Ronghuo couldn't tell his parents and younger sister that he had logged into the world of the gods 300 years in advance. Because once this matter is known to others, not only will he be in danger, but his relatives will definitely be in danger as well. Therefore, you must keep your own affairs confidential. The login crystal fell yesterday. Father Chen and Mother Chen were startled. He immediately understood that Chen Ronghuo said what he said yesterday because he didn't want to worry himself and others too much. You. Mother Chen looked at Chen Ronghuo and shook her head helplessly. Okay, let's not talk about this for now. Father Chen interrupted Mother Chen, looked at Chen Ronghuo and said, Ronghuo, what do you think of this great change in the world and the matter of logging into the crystal? Gods. Chen Ronghuo spit out two words, no one except the gods can achieve this level of change in the world. And with the power of the gods, it would be too easy to harm us. So I think when the time comes, we might as well try the login crystal. Having said this, Chen Ronghuo looked at the path of his parents and sister. I heard from my sister before that she picked up 3 login crystals in front of our house. She probably hasn't recognized the owner yet, right? Father Chen nodded. With his caution, he would not easily let his family identify the owner of something of unknown origin. According to the information I got from the login crystal I got, there will be greater changes in the world in the future. There is also some information on the internet, and my father may have seen it. There are many things happening in our world. Unbelievable things, a 6-clawed black wolf, a giant bear over 5 meters tall. And these are just the beginning. As time goes by, the intensity of the changes in the world will become stronger, and some more terrifying things may appear. Our family has money, but the money may not be of much use to the world in the future, and it may even cause harm to us. Using login crystals to log into the world of gods may allow us to gain great strength and protect ourselves. In the end, we may even become like gods. Chen Yushang frowned slightly. I think it's better to be cautious. When the time comes, the country will send people to use the login crystal as soon as possible. We might as well wait for the results before trying. I know Chen Ronghuo shook his head, but that might be a little late. If the information I got is correct, it will be of great benefit to enter the God's game first. Also, Dad, look. As he spoke, Chen Ronghuo suddenly took a deep breath, then his chest bulged, and he blew fiercely at the open closet door a few meters away. Huh, with a bang, the closet door closed automatically. Brother, you have become a god. Chen Xiao stood up suddenly and looked at Chen Ronghuo in disbelief, his eyes widening. Sit down, just do the normal operations. Chen Ronghuo bared his teeth at Chen Yushu, and then solemnly said to Chen's father and Chen's mother, in addition to getting a lot of information from my login crystal, I also got many benefits. Let's talk about whether it's good or not. Ronghuo, are you okay with your health? How about we go to the hospital for a checkup? Mother Chen asked carefully. Chen Ronghuo smiled bitterly, Mom, don't worry, I've checked and there's nothing wrong with my body. After a meal, Chen's father was finally persuaded by Chen Ronghuo. Of course, Chen Xiao also pestered Chen Ronghuo in the middle and asked him to perform several more projects before letting him go. Back in his room, Chen Ronghuo looked at everything familiar and touched the books he had read with complicated eyes. At this time, Chen's father and Chen's mother outside, after browsing a large amount of information on the internet and asking many questions through their own channels, both felt heavy. The world has really changed. Father Chen clenched his fists and sighed. He started from scratch and worked hard for many years to achieve what he is today, allowing his wife and children to live the life they want. But this time the world changes, all his efforts may be in vain. Time flies, and more than 2 hours have passed. In the room, Chen Ronghuo suddenly felt the login crystal in his body tremble. It's finally starting. There are a lot of rewards these days, and my book friends have become masters of this book in a short period of time. Thank you all. In addition, I have been away from home for the past few days, and the coding on my mobile phone is too slow. I will update more when I get home tomorrow. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 528. Buzz. The Void shook. At 5 p.m. on August 2, 2030, Earth time, all the lives in the universe that had refined the landing crystals felt a pulling force from the unknown at the same time. At the same time, a large amount of information poured into the minds of many lives. This information was the universal language of the world of gods that Chen Ronghuo had obtained once. The game of gods begins. Do you want to log in? After accepting the universal language of the world of gods, a majestic voice suddenly sounded from the depths of the minds of these lives. Land. Chen Ronghuo sat on the armchair in his home. After feeling this pulling force, he did not resist and chose to land directly. After making the choice, Chen Ronghuo felt a flash in front of his eyes, and found himself in a chaotic space. Then, pictures began to flash before his eyes. In the picture, on a boundless and huge continent, a giant yellow sand snake whose tail could not be seen because it was too big was crawling in the deep mountains. Wherever it passed, the earth became a desert, a terrifying and powerful life as terrifying as a blood-red bat quickly passed through the sky, turning all lives into mummies. When the ferocious giant beast stepped down with its big feet, countless lives showed despair. Finally, after an unknown amount of time, a group of tall and majestic figures suddenly walked out and began to kill and seal those terrifying lives one by one. In the ancient times, evil things were rampant. The gods joined forces to wipe out and seal the evil things, and there was peace for a while. At this time, vicissitudes of life sounded in the ears of all the players who chose to log in. Then, the picture changed. Another extremely huge black star appeared, and on this star, there stood a tall figure wearing a black cloak. The tall figure had a deep gaze. When he flew over on the stars, he waved his hand and summoned countless lives, landing on the continent. So the gods who had appeared once before appeared again and began to fight with this man and his men. In the battle between the two sides, the huge continent was almost shattered. In the end, the gods joined forces to cut off half of the continent, and used this half of the continent to suppress the tall figure below. In the Middle Ages, the Lord of the Dark Demon invaded with the Dark Demon Star, and the gods cut half of the continent of the gods and sealed it. The vicissitudes of life sounded again as if summarizing. Then the scene in front of everyone changed again. This time, the many gods who had appeared twice before disappeared, and the suppressed Lord of the Dark Demon broke the seal and began to wreak havoc with his men in the world of the gods. Immediately, a tall figure standing on a giant river crab suddenly walked out of the sea with a group of subordinates and fought with the Lord of Darkness. After an unknown period of time, the screen was frozen with the corpse of the Lord of Darkness falling from the void, and the tall figure standing on the back of the giant crab, with only half of his face exposed. This time, the screen stayed for much longer than before, as if it was deliberately trying to make the players remember this person. Then, the gods who had disappeared before appeared again and began to fight with the tall figure. And in the end, the gods suppressed the tall figure in an abyss at the cost of all their lives. Then a voice suddenly sounded. In the ancient times, the gods went into hiding, the Lord of Darkness broke the seal and came out, causing chaos in the world. An unknown strong man suddenly appeared and killed the Lord of Darkness. However, he was contaminated by the residual power of the Lord of Darkness after his death and became the new generation of the Lord of Darkness. The gods were reborn, burning their divine blood and divine power, and set up a peerless formation to suppress the new generation of the Lord of Darkness under the demon suppression abyss that originally suppressed the Lord of Darkness. Of course, the new generation of the Lord of Darkness is powerful and is still watching every move of the continent of gods. When the time is right, he will break the seal. At the same time, there are still a lot of forces in the demon realm remaining on the continent of gods, threatening the safety of life on the continent of gods at all times. The alien warriors who responded to the call of fate, be ready for battle. Not bad. When Chen Ronghuo appeared, he touched his chin involuntarily, and a smile appeared on his face. The appearance animation of the game of gods is very realistic, which makes people feel shocked at a glance. However, part of this animation was made by the gods, and part of it was modified by him later. Just as Chen Ronghuo was thinking about this, a winged elf suddenly appeared in front of him. The elf waved his staff and said to Chen Ronghuo, "Hello, I am the guiding elf of the world of the gods. Welcome to join the game of the gods. It is detected that you are using a special account. You can create 3 names for your game character. You can switch your 3 game names at any time. And as long as you disagree, each of your game names cannot be locked or viewed in any way. Now please enter a name for your game character as soon as possible." As the guiding elf finished speaking, 3 virtual text boxes appeared side by side in front of Chen Ronghuo. Name. Chen Ronghuo thought for a while, then reached out and wrote the 4 big words "Kneel to the gods" in one of the virtual text boxes. Your game name "Kneel to the gods" has been created. Please continue to create the second game name. The guiding elf spoke expressionlessly. Now that we have a high-profile one, let's add a low-key one. Chen Ronghuo thought slightly and wrote the words "ordinary" in the second text box. The ordinary Chen Ronghuo fits his current character very well. After writing down the second game name, Chen Ronghuo didn't wait to direct the elf to speak, and then wrote his third game name in the third text box, Almighty Boss. Congratulations, you have successfully created a game character. Because you are using a top-level special account, your game character will initially have 10 opportunities to be reborn. And every month, you can increase the chance of rebirth, which can be superimposed, with no upper limit. You can also transfer your character's rebirth opportunity to other players. The guidance elf continued, "Now you can call up your attribute panel with your mind to check your attributes. You can also choose to log into the gods game immediately. View Properties panel. Chen Ronghuo's mind moved. Then, a virtual panel that only he could see appeared before his eyes. Player name, Gods Bow Down, Ordinary, All-Powerful Old Monster. Player level, Level 10. Player attributes. Constitution, 37. Spirit, 37. The average physical and mental attributes of a player at level 1 are around 10 points, which vary from person to person. Luck, 10. Luck can only be increased in special ways. Player talent level, Super. Talent levels are divided into 6 levels for players with level 5 talents. Before level 10, players with level 10 will gain 1 attribute point. For players with level 4 talents, players with level 4 talents will gain 2 attribute points with each level they level up, and so on. For super talents, players can increase their attributes by 6 points for each level up to level 10. Equipment 1, Divine Book, sealed. The level is unknown, the specific name is unknown, it currently has the ability to identify, and more functions can be unlocked when the player reaches level 11. Equipment 2, Divine Tree, sealed. The level is unknown, and the specific name is unknown. It can slightly increase the player's understanding as the player upgrades. The ability of the Divine Tree will gradually increase. Special Ability 1, Attribute Grabbing. You can touch the target's attributes with your left hand, and the ability will increase with the level. Special Ability 2, Invite God. You have a special connection with a powerful and unknown existence, and you can borrow the power of that existence at any time. Because the unknown being is in a sealed state, the power you borrowed from him cannot be returned. At the same time, these powers can only exist in you for 1 hour at most. If it exceeds 1 hour, it will return to the world of the gods. After checking his attribute panel, Chen Ronghuo's eyes suddenly flashed. "Can't you give it back?" he murmured to himself, feeling in his heart that the formation set up by the gods was indeed powerful, but he didn't feel too disappointed about it. For Chen Ronghuo, it is already good to have so many abilities at this time. If I can't borrow the power of the stand-in-stone tire, I won't borrow the power of the stand-in-stone tire. In this game, I will strive to reach the peak of cultivation again, and then merge my 2 bodies into one, and strive to break through that realm that no one has ever entered before. Enter the world of the gods. As soon as the thought came to his mind, Chen Ronghuo did not hesitate and directly chose to enter the world of the gods. At the same time, in another landing space, Chen Xiao looked at the guidance spirit in front of him, feeling confused for a while. Congratulations, because you are using a special account, you have obtained the protection of the new generation of demon lords. Your talents are enhanced. You gain your first special ability, Praise of the White Dragon. You gain your second special ability, Black Tiger Disaster. When you walk in the world of gods, the hostility of demons towards you will be reduced by 80%. At the same time, Chen's father, Chen Yushang, and Chen's mother, Zhang Chunli, almost received the same treatment as Chen Xiao. Whoosh! After Chen Ronghuo chose to enter the world of gods, he immediately felt a blur in front of his eyes, and then his figure appeared in a small, run-down village. You have arrived at Xiahe village, which belongs to novice town Noah 666666. The voice of the guiding spirit sounded in Chen Ronghuo's ears. Chen Ronghuo smiled and took a step forward. After taking one step, he immediately attracted the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and instilled it into his body. This is exactly the basic technique he used on Earth Star, which can be practiced anytime and anywhere. At this time, as he used this technique, there was an additional handwriting on his attribute panel. Self-created and unknown exercises, you can practice them anytime, anywhere, while walking, sitting or lying down to increase your physical fitness and nourish your spirit. Ding, congratulations, you have become the first player to understand the practice. As a reward, you can make the practice you have learned public, so that other players can pay to practice this practice. Would you like to make this practice public? Suddenly, the voice guiding the elf sounded again. Public. Chen Ronghuo said calmly, the technique is named Basic Cultivation Techniques. If you choose to pay 10 copper coins, you can get detailed practice methods. This reward was specially designed by Chen Ronghuo for himself within the rules, and even the gods didn't know about it. And only the first person to create his own technique can get this reward. So without waiting for the guide elf to ask more questions, he decided on the price first. After hearing that Chen Ronghuo had set the price, the guidance elf seemed a little stuck. After a moment of silence, it spoke again, will the player's name be announced? Announce, Chen Ronghuo did not hesitate, the name of the creator should be All Gods Kneel. There is another chapter around 12 o'clock. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 529. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Chen Ronghuo had just arrived at Xiahe village when figures fell nearby. In a flash, there were already more than 100 players who came to Xiahe village. Is this the world of gods? Are there really gods in this world? I wonder what we can get from this world. The players were talking about it. Chen Ronghuo glanced at the other players and knew that according to the settings, these people, as well as the players in the 10 villages affiliated with the town A666666, should all be Earthlings. He estimated that with the number of lives on Earth, there would be about 1 million novice towns allocated. Because it was impossible for everyone to enter the game at the first time, it should be considered good that his Xiahe village could have 100 people pouring in at once. Ding! Congratulations to the player kneeling to the gods for creating the skill Basic Cultivation Technique and becoming the first player to create a skill. All players can choose to summon the guiding elves and pay to obtain the detailed practice methods of the Basic Cultivation Technique. At this moment, a voice suddenly rang in the ears of all the players. Hearing this voice, all the players were stunned. What the hell? Self-created martial arts, are you kidding? We just joined the game, okay. Kneel to the gods, this name is too domineering, this person dares to give such a name, isn't he afraid of punishment from the gods? What punishment? Didn't you read the game introduction before you came in? The gods have been dead for a long time. What I am most interested in is how this person created a martial arts as soon as he entered the game. Is he a martial arts master in our world? Almost everyone was unfamiliar with the world of the gods when they first entered it, but because of this announcement to the whole world, the players in the novice village immediately whispered to each other, and in a short time, everyone became familiar with it. Everyone was talking about it, discussing how this player named Kneel to the gods did it, and the reason why he created a martial arts as soon as he entered the game. This is also a good deed, right? Chen Ronghuo touched his chin, then he glanced at the crowd, and soon found 4 familiar figures. These 4 figures were Yehong, Yetong, Su Ming, and Zhang Qinggan. Using the identification technique of the ancient book, he quickly identified the names of the 4 players. I don't want to drive, Yehong. I'm not a driver, Yetong. I surrender, hero, Su Ming. My little brother was kicked, Zhang Qinggan. After identifying the names of the 4 people, Chen Ronghuo laughed in his heart. Obviously, the game names these 4 people took were all related to him. And the reason why the 4 people were assigned to this novice village was one of the abilities of the special landing crystal he tailored for them. Warriors from another world. Just then, a deep voice suddenly sounded from the front, and everyone saw that a white-haired old man, guarded by several tall men, walked from the center of the village. I am the head of Xiahe village. Welcome to Xiahe village. Following the guidance of the gods, you can use your own labor to exchange for rewards. Exchange for rewards. Is it a task? Can it be exchanged for something that enhances strength? Hearing the words of the old head, all the players were moved and showed excitement on their faces. Zhang Das Han. Level 20. Identity, head of Xiahe village, NPC. Martial arts, moving mountain fist, moving mountain sword. Ordinary tasks can be issued: remove 10 demonized rats near the farmland, with rat tails as proof, 10 demonized rabbits, with rabbit ears as proof, remove 2 demonized wild boars that are harming the farmland, with pig teeth as proof, remove 5 demonized grey wolves in the mountains, with wolf skins as proof. The only hidden task can be issued: go deep into the Black Willow Mountains, kill the demonized Black Willow in the center of the Black Willow Mountains, and seize the life essence of the demonized Black Willow. Note 1, the demonized Black Willow is about to break through to level 2 because it grows on a piece of Chaos Elemental Stone. Note 2, it can be triggered after completing all other tasks it has issued. Rewards: Moving Mountain Fist, Moving Mountain Sword Technique, a first level top grade secret sword, several Pewin pills, fire in the stone, several experience points, and several gold, silver, and copper coins. Chaos Elemental Stone. After identifying Zhang Dashan's attributes, Chen Ronghuo's eyes flashed. The reason why he came to this novice village was not that he came here randomly, but that he had said it early. And the reason he said it this way was for that piece of Chaos Elemental Stone. Chaos Elemental Stone has extremely strong plasticity and is an excellent material for creating a secret treasure embryo. Chen Ronghuo was too tight on time before and did not create a secret treasure that suits him best. This time he has a chance to start over, so he wants to create a powerful secret treasure that belongs to him alone. Secret treasures have a strong boost for practitioners. In the previous battle with the Lord of Darkness, if the Lord of Darkness had not been damaged, he might not have been the opponent of the Lord of Darkness. In addition, although all the gods have become players this time, Chen Ronghuo knows that they have left a backup plan for him. As time goes by, all the gods will find their own exclusive secret treasures in the future. Therefore, Chen Ronghuo naturally does not want to suffer losses in this regard. The demonic Black Willow is about to break through to the second level. With my current strength, if I want to capture it, I can only borrow power from the substitute stone tire. Chen Ronghuo pondered in his heart. However, this method is not advisable. I borrowed the power from the substitute stone tire and never gave it back. This is not worth the loss for me. So the top priority is to improve my own strength first. At this time, Chen Ronghuo's level is level 10. Most of the other players' levels are level 1. But Chen Ronghuo was not satisfied with this. Because level 10 is just a mortal body. Only by reaching level 11 can one be able to generate qi and blood and become a first level cultivator. Only after qi and blood are generated in his body, will Chen Ronghuo be able to fight against the demonized Black Willow in the Black Willow mountain range. With this thought in his mind, Chen Ronghuo raised his head again and looked at Zhang Dashan in the distance. The world of gods at this time is already a brand new world. The rules have changed. In the new world, it is too slow to practice and upgrade. Chen Ronghuo knew that in the new world, the fastest way to improve his strength was to complete tasks and fight monsters. Village Chief, don't you know how we can help you? Village Chief, I am strong and can do anything. A group of players cheered and surrounded the old village chief, with excitement on their faces. This world is too real. Although some players are still shocked, they don't want to miss the opportunity. A large number of demonized rats and demonized rabbits have appeared in the farmland outside our Xiahe village during this period, and sometimes demonized wild boars appear. In addition, there are also many more demonized black pigs in the Black Willow Mountains during this period. Wolf. With a smile on his face, Zhang Dashan began to issue tasks. Chen Ronghuo shook his head, walked to Yehong and the other 4 who didn't notice him, and slapped Yehong with a slap. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 530. After Chen Ronghuo accepted the task of killing the demonized wolf, he immediately led the way out of the village, and Yehong and the other four followed closely behind Chen Ronghuo. There are no laws in the world of gods. Chen Ronghuo wants to kill them, so he kills them. Demonized wolf, are these people crazy? When other players saw Chen Ronghuo and his friends accept the task of killing the demonized wolf, they were all talking about it behind them. Chen Ronghuo naturally ignored this. Soon, the group walked out of the village. The Black Willow Mountains are located 3 miles east of Xiaohe village. On the way, Chen Ronghuo picked up some stones of suitable size and put them in his pocket as hidden weapons. At the same time, he did not forget to team up with several people. Teaming is also a setting of the game of gods. After teaming up with each other, the overall experience points gained by the team are much more than the experience points gained by individuals fighting monsters. Chen Ronghuo teamed up with several people, naturally wanting them to become stronger as soon as possible. Otherwise, with their current strength, it would be useless to him. Yehong and his 4 companions followed Chen Ronghuo carefully, looking around. They were walking on the main road, and on both sides of the road were farmlands. Ah! Suddenly, Yetong screamed and saw a long-eared rabbit that was more than half a meter tall and pitch black. The size of this rabbit was almost as big as some smaller local dogs. But in just a moment, she stopped screaming and clenched her teeth to prevent herself from making any sound. As a car thief, her mental quality is still very strong. But after all, she is a woman, and while she is delicate in mind, she cannot compare with men in some aspects. She has never seen such a terrifying thing, so when she saw the rabbit, she couldn't help but make a sound. Whoosh! Just as Yetong gritted her teeth, worried about startling the demonized rabbit, she saw Chen Ronghuo swing his hand, and a stone hit the top of the demonized rabbit's head like lightning, whooshing, and opened a bloody hole in its head. The demonized rabbit swayed and fell to the ground. A copper coin burst out from under it. The 4 people in the team of Yehong and Chen Ronghuo each got 1 experience point. As for Chen Ronghuo himself, he didn't get any experience points at all. The level of the demonized rabbit was too low, the same as most players, all level 1. Killing such a rabbit with Chen Ronghuo's level would not get any experience points at all. Although the level of Yehong and the other 4 was low, because they were in the team of Chen Ronghuo, and because he didn't do anything, they only got 1 experience point each in the end. If they could kill the demonized rabbit alone, they could get 30 or 40 experience points at once. They need 100 experience points to upgrade from level 1 to level 2, and they only need to kill 3 or 4 rabbits to upgrade to level 2. However, if there is no Chen Ronghuo, they don't know how long it will take to kill a demonized rabbit alone. After all, let alone the demonized rabbit, even an ordinary rabbit, an adult may not be able to kill it alone. Brother Pingfan, your hidden weapon skills are really amazing. Su Ming, who is called I Am Convinced by the hero, looked at Chen Ronghuo with burning eyes. He is about 20 years old, with ordinary appearance, and rarely convinced by others, but he is really convinced by Chen Ronghuo. Don't flatter me, I don't fall for it. Chen Ronghuo shook his head and walked to the dead demonized rabbit. He reached out with his left hand and grabbed the demonized rabbit. Physique add 1. A message flashed in Chen Ronghuo's mind. Chen Ronghuo's face was happy, but the next moment, the body of the demonized rabbit in his hand turned into a phantom and disappeared. Chen Ronghuo shook his head and added this 1 point of physical fitness to himself in an instant. His physical fitness increased from 37 points to 38 points. This belongs to you. Then he picked up the copper coin on the ground, threw it to Yehong, and then led the way, continuing to rush towards the Black Willow Mountains. Yehong and the other 4 hurriedly followed behind. After this incident, their confidence in Chen Ronghuo was obviously strengthened. How did I get the protection of the new generation of Demon Lord? At the same time, in a village that looked much better than Chen Ronghuo's Ziahe village, Chen Xiao, who was named Don't Eat Me, still looked a little pale. The new generation of Demon Lords looked like a big devil. She really didn't know whether it was good or bad to get his protection. She stood in the village, looking at the players in front of her, scrambling to accept the task, and sighed in her heart, ready to go forward and accept a task first. No matter what, life has to go on, right? Boom. Just as she took a step, she saw the ground in front of her suddenly exploded, and a terrifying centipede over 1 meter long, black all over, with countless sharp legs and feet rushed out from it. After the centipede came out from the ground, it saw Chen Xiao blocking its way, and immediately moved its legs and feet, opened its mouth and rushed towards Chen Xiao. In an instant, she was so frightened that her face turned pale and she dared not move. But just as the centipede was about to bite Chen Xiao, the ground behind it suddenly bulged up again, and then a pangolin covered with scales rushed out. Crack! The pangolin opened its mouth and bit the centipede over 1 meter long in its mouth. The centipede turned around and started to fight fiercely with the pangolin. This scene shocked all the players in the field. Even the villagers in the village seemed to have not expected the scene and did not react for a long time. Ah! A few seconds later, Chen Xiao screamed. But before she ran away, she subconsciously raised her foot and kicked the centipede in front of her. Ding! You killed a level 15 digging centipede and gained 1500 experience points. Your level has been raised to level 5. Ding! Because of the protection of the new generation of Demon Lords, you have obtained your third special talent, Demon Guard. Under the influence of this special talent, you have a certain chance of being followed by demonized life. Chen Xiao was shocked on the spot. Woo! The pangolin that had just saved Chen Xiao's life suddenly moved its nose, and then took 2 steps forward and rubbed Chen Xiao affectionately with its head. Ding! Chen Ronghuo knew nothing about what happened to his sister. He led Ye Hong and the other 4 and walked quickly all the way. Finally, after more than 10 minutes, they arrived near the Black Willow Mountains. Roar! But just when they arrived here, before they could enter the mountains, they saw 4 grey giant wolves with red eyes walking out of the forest and met them face to face. Apart from anything else, just looking at their half-human height, these 4 wild wolves were extremely terrifying. Demonized Wild Wolf. Level. Ability. As soon as they saw the demonized wild wolf, Ye Hong and the other 4 used the identification technique on them. Ordinary players also have the identification technique, but this identification technique has great limitations. It is difficult to get too much information when used on things that are much higher than their own level. When Ye Hong and the other 4 saw that they could only identify the names of these 4 demonized wild wolves, their faces suddenly changed. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 531. The first person who created his own technique will be rewarded. How could this be? Could it be the influence of that person's claw? Basic practice tips. I don't know who is so quick. 10 copper coins can get detailed practice methods. It's a good idea. Exchange. After Chen Ronghuo's self-created technique was spread, the special account owners, especially the beings possessed by the gods' true spirits, all felt incredible. Some people even chose to exchange this technique directly. They wanted to use this technique to see where the person who dared to kneel down to the gods came from. The so-called special account is a special login crystal that is different from the ordinary login crystal. Special login crystals are not unique to Chen Ronghuo. The gods, and some lucky beings, all use special login crystals. Players use ordinary login crystals to log into the world of gods, and they don't have any money at the beginning. However, some owners of special login crystals may get a lot of money when they join the game. You can practice it while walking, sitting, or lying down. It's a good basic skill. Kneel down, all the gods, hum. Xiahe village. When Zhang Das Han issued the task, other people in the village came out curiously when they saw the player who suddenly appeared. We go fishing in the small river in the east every day. We need a lot of black earthworms. Is there anyone willing to help dig black earthworms? One black earthworm is 10 experience points. You only need to dig 10 black earthworms to upgrade from level 1 to level 2. But be careful. If you encounter a mutated demon earthworm, be careful. It's poisonous. Don't get bitten to death. Several old men gathered together and said, "We are going to stay with relatives in the town for the next 2 days, but we have a pig, 2 dogs, 3 ducks, and 4 chickens to feed. If you complete it well, I can reward you with 100 experience points plus an ordinary machete." A middle-aged man also hurried over and looked for his favorite players in the crowd. "Brother Hong, this world looks a bit fierce. Even earthworms can bite people to death. What should we do?" Zhang Qinggan, a player named Little Brother was kicked, said while holding his stomach. He seemed to have sequelae from being kicked by Chen Ronghuo. If he didn't hold his stomach, he would feel unsafe. Take a simple task first, and then go out to fight monsters after you level up a few levels and get weapons. Ye Hong, named I Don't Want to Drive, said after a moment of hesitation. Their game characters can also be resurrected after death, but unlike Chen Ronghuo, each person can only be resurrected 3 times at most. When they die for the 4th time, not to mention the game characters, they themselves will die. As long as they are not fools, players will be cautious when playing this incredible game of gods. Ye Hong and the other 4 gathered together to discuss what to do next. Because they had gathered together on Earth before, after coming to this world, they found that 4 people appeared in a novice village, but they were not too surprised. They thought that other people were similar to them. Pop. However, just as the 4 were discussing with each other with great interest, a tall figure suddenly came over from their side and patted Ye Hong on the shoulder. The 4 were startled and turned their heads to look. Then they saw a figure that they had only met once but was extremely familiar and could not forget. He was wearing a sports suit and was looking at them quietly. You. The 4 of them all stuttered for a while, and their faces turned pale, as if they had seen something extremely terrifying. "Formally introduce myself, my name is Ping Pingfen, come on, let's add a friend first." Chen Ronghuo smiled and sent a friend request to the 4 people. The Gods game has friend settings and forum settings. Both settings have a button on the attribute panel, and you can click it with your consciousness. It's just that the game has just started, and most players don't know how to do this. A ding sound rang in their minds, and the 4 people were startled. They called up their own attribute panels and found that a button showing friend on it kept flashing. They did not dare to hesitate and hurriedly clicked in and accepted Chen Ronghuo's friend request. After adding friends, they can contact each other no matter how far away they are. Ordinary. After adding friends, the 4 people looked at Chen Ronghuo's game name and felt speechless. If people like you are ordinary, then what are you? Chen Ronghuo naturally didn't know what the 4 people were thinking. Seeing that the 4 people had completed the operation, he was not polite and directly ordered, "Okay, now you go to accept the task and go with me to the Black Willow Mountains to kill the demonized wild wolf." Demonized, wild wolf? Ye Hong and the other 4 were all stunned when they heard this. Things like wolves, even without the word demonized, are not something that ordinary people can deal with bare hands. Especially according to their understanding, many wolves appear in groups. After exchanging a glance, Ye Tong said to Chen Ronghuo hesitantly, "Brother, big brother, we don't know how strong the demonized wild wolves are. It's not a good idea to go directly to them. How about we try to find the demonized mice and demonized rabbits first?" Ye Tong is Ye Hong's sister. She wears sneakers, jeans, and a white cartoon pattern t-shirt. Her hair flows down. She has a perfect figure and her appearance is above 8 points. When she stands on the street, few people would think that she is a car thief. Of course, to Chen Ronghuo, it doesn't matter whether she is beautiful or not. He accepted a few people because he wanted to find some helpers, not a girlfriend. Although there are many subordinates in his river crab world, because the river crab world is in the body of the big river crab, the big river crab is sealed in the ancient book, and the ancient book is currently in a sealed state, so he cannot summon his subordinates for the time being. Hearing Yetong's soft plea, Chen Ronghuo remained unmoved and said calmly, "Don't worry, let's just go to the edge and try instead of going deep. If it doesn't work, we'll come back." After identifying the attributes of Xiahe village chief Zhang Dashan, Chen Ronghuo already had a plan in mind. He needs to complete all Zhang Dashan's ordinary tasks before he can take on the hidden tasks and thus determine the location of the demonized Black Willow and the Chaos UN Stone. But the tasks issued by Zhang Dashan were too ordinary. With his strength, if he spends time catching mice or chasing rabbits, he will not only lose the prize, but also waste time and energy. So he planned to go directly to the task of demonizing the wild wolf. As for other tasks, anyway, Zhang Dashan's task requirement is that he only needs to have credentials. After he kills enough wild wolves and returns, he can just use the money to buy quest vouchers such as rat tail and rabbit teeth from other players. This obviously saves both time and effort. And money is easily accessible to him. Not to mention anything else, just in such a short period of time, the money he earned from selling the exercises he created was enough for him to use for a long time. After saying this, he immediately stepped forward, walked into the crowd, and took over the task of killing the demonized wild wolf from the village chief. "Brother, why do you think he appeared in this village?" Later, Yehong and others, who had already mastered the skills of adding friends, immediately started communicating with each other through the friend panel after adding each other as friends. "There may be something wrong with the landing crystal he gave us," Yehong said solemnly. "I have observed that no one in this village knows each other except us. No wonder he's not worried about us taking his landing crystal and escaping." Yetong, Su Ming, and Zhang Qinggan all took a deep breath when they heard this. Looking at Chen Ronghuo's back, they felt even more that Chen Ronghuo was unfathomable. Suddenly, the four of them seemed to have thought of something at the same time. After looking at each other, their expressions froze slightly. They thought that if there was really something wrong with the landing crystal that Chen Ronghuo gave them, then if they were communicating with each other through the landing crystal, would they be betrayed by Chen Ronghuo? "Discover. Come on, let's go take the mission too," Yehong whispered. "Brother Hong, that's a wolf. And it's a demonized wild wolf. We are unarmed." Yehong looked lonely. "I know, but other than this, what else can we do?" After hearing Yehong's words, the others suddenly fell silent. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 533. Roar. Before Yehong and the other four could react, 4 gray giant wolves that were more than half a person tall rushed towards them. In contrast, Chen Ronghuo quickly identified the attributes of the 4 giant wolves through the ancient book. Demonized wild wolf, level 11, first order early stage. Physique, 60. Soul power, 40. Note, for cultivators and demons above the first order, the mental power will be condensed and transformed into soul power. Those with strong soul power can use soul power to interfere with reality. For first order cultivators, if the soul power value exceeds 100, there is a chance that they will have special abilities and change their jobs to become warlocks. Chi and blood value, 600, note, Chi and blood value is equal to physique *10. Basic ability, blessing, the demonized wild wolf consumes Chi and blood, which can simultaneously enhance its own strength, speed, and defense. Note 1, hit killing a demonized wild wolf can yield up to 500 experience points, and there is a certain chance of copper and silver coins, and a small chance of a first level lower grade secret treasure, the Blood Wolf Sword. After accepting a task related to the demonized wild wolf, there is a chance of demonized wild wolf skin and wild wolf meat. Note 2. The demonized wild wolf uses the Black Willow Mountains as its territory. When the number of demonized wild wolves in the territory reaches 150, a part of them will be separated to attack the village. The 4 demonized wild wolves are stronger than Chen Ronghuo in 2 attributes, especially the physical attribute, which is more than 20 points higher than Chen Ronghuo. But this is not the most important thing. The most important thing is that these 4 demonized wild wolves are all first-level demons with blood and qi. Once they consume blood and qi and bless themselves, their strength will double. Whoosh hoo hoo. The stone broke through the air, with the power of rapid rotation, turned into black lightning, and shot directly into the eyes of the 4 demonized wild wolves. Chen Ronghuo is now at level 10, seemingly only 1 level away from the demonized wild wolf, but this level is like an abyss. When a practitioner breaks through from level 10 to level 11, the quantitative change will cause a qualitative change, or the physical constitution will be used as the foundation to generate blood value, becoming a formal warrior, or the soul power will be used as the foundation to generate mana value, becoming a formal warlock, so that the blood value or mana can be mobilized to bless oneself, or even to perform skills. At the same time, after the upgrade, the practitioner's own physical constitution and soul power will double. It is precisely for this reason that the demonized wild wolf, which is only 1 level higher than Chen Ronghuo, has such a high attribute than Chen Ronghuo. But as Chen Ronghuo threw out 8 stones in an instant, the stones flew out of the air with a high-speed rotation force, and accurately landed on the eyes of the 4 demonized wild wolves. The 4 wild wolves suddenly blacked out, and severe pain came, and they could not see anything. In terms of basic strength, any demonized wild wolf can completely defeat Chen Ronghuo. But in terms of combat experience and the use of one's own strength, there are not many in the entire world of gods who can compare with Chen Ronghuo. Of course, because Chen Ronghuo's current strength is too low, his action of throwing 8 stones just now looks cool and swift, but in an instant, he consumed a lot of mental energy to deduce the actions and reactions of the 4 demonized wild wolves. In other words, if 4 more demonized wild wolves rushed out of the forest at this time, he would definitely not be able to do it as perfectly as just now. But there is no if in this world. Ouch! The 4 demonized wild wolves were blinded and immediately let out a shrill howl. At the same time, blood began to appear all over their bodies, and it was obvious that they had used the blessing ability of qi and blood to enhance their defense. Hearing the howling of the wild wolf, Chen Ronghuo's eyes were cold, and he took a few steps forward, raised his palm, and slapped the leading wild wolf with one palm. Before his palm landed, his palm began to vibrate slightly. When his palm landed on the demonized wolf, his palm vibrated 9 times instantly, and 9 forces were simultaneously hit on the demonized wolf. Puff! The 9 forces merged into one, with extremely strong penetrating and vibrating force, instantly breaking through the layers of defense of the demonized wolf, and even the blood and qi force it had spread on its body could not stop it. This powerful force that merged into one force directly shook the inside of the demonized wolf's head into a mess, causing it to die on the spot without even having time to scream. After killing the demonized wolf with one palm, Chen Ronghuo came to the middle of this demonized wolf and another demonized wolf on the side of his body, and raised his knee to hit them. The violent force erupted from his feet standing on the ground, and accumulated layer by layer along the joints. When it reached the knee of his other leg, the power accumulated in his body was extremely terrifying. Ouch! With another scream, the demonized wild wolf was hit by Chen Ronghuo's knee like a shrimp, folding up and down, and flew backwards. At the same time, the demonized wild wolf that had just been hit by him, until now, under the action of inertia, rushed forward several meters, and fell to the ground with a plop. Roar. At this time, the other two demonized wild wolves that were blinded by Chen Ronghuo, sensing their companions and death, as well as the movement of Chen Ronghuo, finally determined Chen Ronghuo's position, roared together, and pounced on him. With the blessing of the power of Qi and blood, the speed of the two demonized wild wolves was extremely fast, and they arrived in front of Chen Ronghuo in the blink of an eye. One on the left and one on the right, the sharp wolf claws slashed towards Chen Ronghuo. With Chen Ronghuo's current strength, once he was scratched by the claws of these two demonized wild wolves, he would be disemboweled in an instant. When Ye Hong and the other four saw the scene from a distance, their hearts suddenly rose to their throats. However, Chen Ronghuo looked at the two wolves attacking him with an unusually calm look. When the cold and sharp wolf claws were about to touch him, he had already prepared himself to duck down and avoid the attack of the two wolves. At the same time, he changed his palm into a fist, half-turned his body, and punched one of the wolves in a row. Bang, bang, bang. Chen Ronghuo developed his body's potential to the limit. In an instant, he punched 8 times, hitting the chest of the demonized wolf. Even though the demonized wolf had the power of blood and qi to protect its body, it could not defend itself. It was directly hit by Chen Ronghuo in the chest and flew far away. At the same time, Chen Ronghuo's figure was like lightning, rushing out after the wolf, avoiding the attack of the last demonized wolf behind him. With a step on the ground, Chen Ronghuo used the force to stabilize his body and turned his body. Ouch! However, the last demonized wild wolf did not pounce on Chen Ronghuo. Instead, it seemed to be frightened by Chen Ronghuo. After stopping, it turned around and ran back. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. One stone after another flew out of the air. This time, the stones that broke through the air hit the same point on the hind legs of the fleeing demonized wild wolf. Plop! After bearing the power of 4 stones in succession, the demonized wild wolf could no longer hold on and fell to the ground with a plop. Buzz buzz buzz. Behind them, Ye Hong and the other 4 opened their mouths wide, and suddenly several rays of light flashed on their bodies. They did nothing, but they were upgraded. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 534. Call. Chen Ronghuo took a long breath. Because of the intense exercise just now, the breath in his body boiled. He exhaled it in one breath and directly formed a white line, which flew 3 or 4 meters away before dissipating. Even above his head, there were traces of white smoke coming out. Killing 4 level 11 demonized wild wolves in one go was not an easy task even for Chen Ronghuo. At this time, he was extremely exhausted both mentally and physically. Chen Ronghuo turned his head and looked at Ye Hong and the others in the distance. The 4 of them, Ye Hong, who stood motionless with their mouths open, had all been upgraded 2 levels, from level 1 to level 3, in a short period of time. You killed the level 11 demonized wolf and gained 200 experience points. Chen Ronghuo opened the attribute panel and saw that there was a record of the battle he had just won. 1 demonized wild wolf was worth 200 experience points. Chen Ronghuo killed 4 of them and gained a total of 800 experience points. However, he is a level 10 cultivator at this time, and there are 2 conditions for upgrading from level 10 to level 11. One condition is to master a cultivation method so that the qi and blood generated in the body can be restrained in the body. As the first person to create his own martial arts in the God's game, this condition is not difficult for Chen Ronghuo. Another condition is to accumulate 10,000 experience points. This condition is relatively difficult, but it only requires dozens of demonized wild wolves. Chen Ronghuo stepped forward and walked to the demonized wild wolves that he had just killed. He stretched out his left hand and touched them one by one. The ability of his left hand has also been sealed, making it incomparable to what it once was. But for Chen Ronghuo, who has used the power of his left hand countless times, he can still slightly control the ability of his left hand and selectively touch the attributes of some things. You took 1 point of the physical attribute of the demonized wild wolf. 10 seconds later, with the thought in his mind, Chen Ronghuo finally took out a physique attribute from the corpse of the demonized wild wolf under him. As this attribute was discovered, the body of the demonized wild wolf under him immediately shook, turned into a shadow, and slowly disappeared from Chen Ronghuo. Chen Ronghuo ignored this and walked to the second demonized wild wolf corpse. When a life in the world of gods dies, in addition to items exploding, the body can also be touched. However, no matter whether you can touch the corpse successfully or not, as long as you start touching the corpse, the dead life will disappear after a few seconds or more than 10 seconds. So Chen Ronghuo doesn't have to worry about others seeing his left-hand power. Moreover, when other people touch the corpse, most of them can only find some parts of the dead life and body. You found 1 point of the spiritual attribute of the demonized wild wolf. You took out the wolf skin of a demonized wild wolf. A moment later, Chen Ronghuo once again took out a bit of spiritual attribute from the corpse of the second demonized wild wolf. At the same time, he also took out a wolf skin of a demonized wild wolf. This wolf skin is the proof for him to complete the task issued by the village chief Zhang Das Han. To complete the task of village chief Zhang Das Han, he needed to collect a total of 10 wolf skins of demonized wild wolves. Thinking like this, Chen Ronghuo then walked enthusiastically to the third and fourth wolf corpses. Only this time, he was less lucky. He only found 2 wolf skins and 2 wolf corpses, and they disappeared from in front of him. Shaking his head, Chen Ronghuo took 3 wild wolf skins and threw them to Yehong and the others. "Take this, let's go into the Black Willow Mountains and have a look." As he spoke, Chen Ronghuo added the mental attributes and physical attributes he had just acquired to himself with a thought. With the addition of these 2 attributes to him, he not only became better physically and mentally, but also seemed to recover quickly due to the huge consumption caused by the battle just now. Chen Ronghuo didn't want to waste time. If he wants to obtain the Chaos Yuan Stone, he must first improve his strength quickly. For him, the best way to improve his strength is to upgrade to level 11 as soon as possible. Chen Ronghuo's attributes are inherently stronger than others. Once upgraded to level 11, his attributes will be doubled, and coupled with the growth of blood energy, his strength will definitely increase more than 10 times. Okay, brother Fan. Yehong and the others were stunned for a moment, then quickly reacted and hurriedly followed Chen Ronghuo. Your teammate Ping Fanfan killed the demonized wild wolf. Because you didn't take action, your level is low and you gained 100 experience points. While following Chen Ronghuo, they looked at the battle diary on their attribute panel. Upgrading from level 1 to level 2 requires 100 experience points and upgrading from level 2 to level 3 requires 200 experience points. Just now, Chen Ronghuo killed 4 demonized wild wolves, and they directly gained 400 experience points. With so much experience points, if they stay in Xiahe village, they don't know how many days it will take to get them. It can be said that they definitely got a huge advantage by following Chen Ronghuo. The 4 of them followed Chen Ronghuo and communicated with each other through the friend panel. It's amazing. I feel like my body is much stronger than before. Zhang Qinggan said excitedly. Why, you haven't already added all the attribute points to your physique, right? Yehong was startled and asked Zhang Qinggan. Of course, Zhang Qinggan replied, we are following the adults now. If we don't add attribute points to our physique, we may become a burden. After sending the word adult through the friend panel, Zhang Qinggan glanced slightly in the direction of Chen Ronghuo, wanting to see if Chen Ronghuo had any reaction. After knowing that there was a problem with the login crystal that Chen Ronghuo gave them, They communicated with each other through the friend panel that came with the login crystal. They no longer dared to be open and said everything. Yetong thought for a while and said, I think it's better for us to ask the adults for their opinions on this matter. Yes, Su Ming also said, we can't add points at will, everything depends on the adults' opinions. After he finished speaking, he immediately raised his head and glanced at Chen Ronghuo. At the same time, after paying attention to the fact that there was no danger around, he began to ask Chen Ronghuo, Brother Fan, we have just upgraded 2 levels. How do you think we should add attribute points? Yes, hearing Su Ming speak, Ye Hong on the side quickly added, Brother Fan, you provided us with landing crystals and helped us upgrade, but the 4 of us, in short, as long as you, Brother Fan, need us in the future, as long as you call us, the 4 of us will definitely not hesitate. Chen Ronghuo turned his head and looked at the 4 of them with interest. The 4 of them felt their scalps tingling slightly when Chen Ronghuo looked at them like this. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 535. According to reason, Chen Ronghuo had just joined the game of gods, so Ye Hong and the other 4 shouldn't ask Chen Ronghuo about anything related to the game of gods. But thinking of the 4 special landing crystals that Chen Ronghuo gave them, and the super strength that Chen Ronghuo showed, they all wanted to listen to Chen Ronghuo's advice. Although, they all had the idea of escaping from Chen Ronghuo's control. But if they want to escape from Chen Ronghuo's control, they must first have enough strength, right? Chen Ronghuo glanced at Ye Hong, Su Ming, and Zhang Qinggan, and said, you call me sir, so I will tell you something. According to the information I have received, there are 2 types of practitioners in the game of gods, one is a warrior and the other is a sorcerer. You 3 have slightly inferior talents, so you can add the attributes you have obtained to your physique and spirit at a ratio of 2:1. Then Chen Ronghuo looked at Yetong again, pondered for a moment and said, your talent is pretty good, you can try to add all the attributes to your spirit. In this way, when you reach level 11, you should be able to become a sorcerer. Among Yetong's initial attributes, the physical attribute is 8 points, the mental attribute is 11 points, and her talent is 2nd level. In this way, she can get 4 points of attributes for each level up. If all are added to the mental attribute, when she reaches level 11, the attributes will double, and she may become a sorcerer. As for Ye Hong, Su Ming, and Zhang Qinggan, their talents are all 3rd level, and they can only get 3 points of attributes for each level up. It is a bit difficult for them to become sorcerers. However, the spiritual attribute cannot be ignored. Because whether it is to comprehend the skills or practice martial arts secrets in the future, the spiritual attribute can play an important role. Yes, thank you for your advice. Hearing Chen Ronghuo's advice, the 4 people were all happy. Of course, when they were happy, they couldn't help but feel awe in their hearts. Chen Ronghuo's words revealed too many things. The game of gods has just begun, how could Chen Ronghuo know so many things? The most important thing is that Chen Ronghuo even knows their talent level, which makes them have to think that there is something wrong with their landing crystal. However, the landing crystal is the certificate for landing in the game of gods, and it has been integrated with them. If Chen Ronghuo really tampered with the landing crystal for them, with their knowledge, they don't know what to do. Chen Ronghuo nodded slightly and continued to walk deep into the forest. He said so much to several people, and he was not afraid of them thinking too much. The backup he left in the landing crystals of several people is extremely powerful. Now he can't control several people, but when he breaks through to the 11th level and derives soul power, he can control the landing crystals of several people at any time and anywhere, and control their life and death. Moreover, everything he said can be explained by the special landing crystals he obtained. This time, the landing crystals emitted by the world of gods are so many that I don't know how many. Even the special landing crystals among them are countless. Of course, Special landing crystals also have levels, like Chen Ronghuo's landing crystals and the landing crystals of the gods, which are naturally top level. Other special landing crystals, although they have special features, are only better than ordinary landing crystals. However, some people who get special landing crystals may know some information related to the world of gods in advance, so Chen Ronghuo is not afraid of several people leaking their secrets. "My lord, are sorcerers stronger than warriors?" Yetong asked curiously. Hearing Chen Ronghuo say that she has a chance to become a sorcerer, she is naturally very curious about sorcerers. Chen Ronghuo glanced at Yetong and said lightly, "Warriors are not weaker than warlocks in the early stage, but in the later stage, there are very few pure warriors. However, at this time, warriors can choose to refine the blood of demons and transform into blood warriors." When saying this, Chen Ronghuo couldn't help but think of the path he had taken before. Warlocks are born to fit in with a certain law. In the later stage, they naturally practice faster, but pure warriors are different. Therefore, in the later stage, most warriors will choose to refine powerful demon blood, transform into blood warriors, and practice blood law. Woo! Just as the few people were talking, a grey giant wolf suddenly poked its head out of the forest. Its nose twitched, as if it smelled the bloody smell left by Chen Ronghuo when he just killed those demonized wild wolves. Whoosh! Whoosh! Just as the demonized wolf showed up, the two stones in Chen Ronghuo's hand flew out like lightning, and with two whooshes, they arrived in front of the demonized wolf. The demonized wolf sensed the danger, and its hair exploded. It quickly tilted its head, but its speed was still half a beat slower. One of the two stones hit its head and bounced out, while the other hit its eye socket with an extremely fast speed, blinding its eyes. This was a level 12 demonized wolf. But when Chen Ronghuo shot the stone, it could only barely avoid one stone. Ayo! The demonized wolf howled. Boom! Chen Ronghuo's body was like lightning, and his footsteps suddenly exploded on the ground, stepping on a large piece of dead branches and rotten leaves. He took a step 7 or 8 meters away, and after 3 steps, he arrived in front of the demonized wolf and fell with a palm. The violent gust of wind pressed down all the hair on the demonized wild wolf. Before it could make any move, Chen Ronghuo slapped the wolf's head hard to pieces. Another demonized wild wolf died in the hands of Chen Ronghuo. 260 experience points were obtained, which also meant that Chen Ronghuo had gained 1/10 of the experience points he needed to break through to level 11. Chen Ronghuo stepped forward and touched the body of the demonized wild wolf. After more than 10 seconds, he suddenly felt something in his heart and took out a 1-point spiritual attribute from it. Without hesitation, he directly added this spiritual attribute to himself. Even for those gods with super talents, they could gain 7 attributes after upgrading to a higher level, which was not comparable to Chen Ronghuo, who had the left-hand ability. He could use his left-hand ability to build up his foundation extremely strong. After killing the demonized wild wolf, Chen Ronghuo continued to search in the forest. For him, as long as he didn't encounter a wolf pack, there was nothing to worry about. One demonized wild wolf after another died in the hands of Chen Ronghuo. Ye Hong and the other 4 who followed Chen Ronghuo were shocked to see that Chen Ronghuo could kill the demonized wild wolf cleanly every time he attacked. Of course, besides being shocked, their levels also soared rapidly like a rocket. A few hours later, all 4 of them broke through to level 6. Before level 5, the number of practitioners required for each level increase will increase by 100. The experience points required to upgrade from level 5 to level 6 have reached 600. Although as the 4 people's levels increased, the experience points obtained by teaming up with Chen Ronghuo to kill the demonized wild wolf became less and less. It didn't take them much time to get the experience points they needed to upgrade from level 1 to level 6. Of course, compared with Chen Ronghuo, their improvement was nothing. In a few hours, Chen Ronghuo killed dozens of demonized wild wolves. Although he still had not reached level 11, his physical and mental attributes, after being repeatedly added through the supernatural power of his left hand, had all reached his own mortal body attribute limit of 50 points.